Good evening. Good evening and welcome to the City of Norwich City Council meeting, which we are now having a informational workshop. And this, we will be hearing from Phyllis Rizzi and Paul DeSalis of Decision Point to update the City Council on strategic planning and goal-setting workshop that was held in September 2016 at Mohegan Sun Convention Center. So would you like to begin?
Well, thank you, members of the council. My job tonight is just actually to give information more as a messenger than anything else, giving you information about the work that you all did to actually build a strategic plan. I presented to all of you a document that kind of captures the information that you collected and actually created in that period that we actually met for a few days to actually build a strategic plan. So hopefully you have that in front of you and familiar with it. Pretty much the first page just kind of reviews the process that we used in building the strategic plan. Initially, members of each one of the departments had individual meetings with their teams where they developed SWOT analysis with each one of their members to develop a list of things that they would present to you about areas where they felt they had strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that they identified. And from those presentations that those various department members actually presented to you, the work that you all did began. So reflecting on that, we looked at what exactly it is that your job was. And we asked you to act a little bit in a focused and disciplined manner to distill all of the information that you'd received in that first day from those various department heads, where they were asking you to kind of look at your focus and all the issues that they wanted you to address and all the resources that they wanted to have attributed to solve their issues, their problems, and move on their initiatives. So your job was to listen attentively to what it is those department heads had to say and make some difficult decisions about focus. Now, it didn't mean that you were going to naturally do or not do any of the things that those department heads had in mind, but it was going to be more of a mission on your part to develop a real strategic mission and purpose for your tenure. And what we asked you to do is think in short-term versus long-term and actually try to pick out some things that you would be focused on trying to achieve in at least the next 12-month period. So in a one-year window, what would you want to make sure that you, looking back, would have made sure that you spent time and attention accomplishing? So it wasn't as though there were some things that you had heard from department heads that meant they would never be attended to, but they certainly would not be on the top list. So we're trying to look for what would be the issues that you wanted to address initially and absolutely address as a front burner kind of issue. So that's what page one just kind of reflects, and this is putting you through the journey once again, but looking at what you actually had to do those days. The next pages are really the result of the work that you actually did, where first off we asked you more or less from stream of consciousness, just each of you identify from what you had heard from the individual department heads, what each of you, without collective wisdom, as it were, collective decision-making, just each of you identify what were the three things or two things that you heard that you would hope that the rest of the members of the team would want to also work towards. So without any choosing at that point, we just listed all of the various things that any one of you had heard that you wanted to attack and work towards and be considered part of that strategic process. So you ended up with a list at the very top of the next page, and I don't need to read them to you, but obviously from there was where we would start the disciplined, focused, and strategic planning process. So you had a a list of things that you were considering as a group, as individuals rather, that you wanted to address. From there, we wanted to go into a little bit more of a disciplined approach. And that's where we had you work at the more difficult process of, from that collective list of data points, select and pick those that you wanted to actually work on. And what you ended up with was a list of 4 things that you felt were something that you needed to consider as top priorities going forward, no matter what things happen in this coming year. And that's at the very bottom of the page, where you have to develop the clear objectives with benchmarks and plans to execute them, become more self-sufficient, develop and rebuild, revitalize the inner city and inner harbor while improving the positive image and perceptions of the city, and set realistic goals, establishing limits to the number and size of goals. So some of those things were actually as a result of your perceptions that, that we're probably not as focused an area of decision-making as you'd like. They had too many goals. Maybe sometimes people were mistaken as to how many things were really of a significant purpose for you. So that was the limits that you had first drawn. Then we asked you to kind of think in terms of a SOAR analysis versus a SWOT analysis. And the SOAR analysis was where you had basically used, with the help of the department heads, some very specific issues that they had vetted and put in front of you through an aggressive SWOT analysis. And the SOAR was one where you looked instead now at the strengths that the city did have available to it. You looked at, because of that, the opportunities that you did have available from those strengths. And now we were looking at picking those things that were, in fact, aspirations, those things that were going to be your goals, and look for results. So we asked you to focus and be more specific. So when it came to the results, the strengths that you listed were a whole number of various things that the city actually had as either a strength within the state, a strength within the region, but strengths that you could tap into, strengths that you knew that were available to you so that you could, in fact, use those to actually achieve outcomes that you were looking for. So you identified a number of them, and again, the list is there for you at the very bottom of the 3rd page, where you look at what are the things that you identified as strengths. What I would suggest that you do going forward is make sure that as you look at that list of strengths, do they still exist? Are they still relevant? Are there others that are more relevant to you now, thinking that you could add to those? So as a suggest, going forward, a strategic plan should always be a living and breathing document. So as that, you should always continue to look at, are those strengths still relevant, still opportunistic, still something that you can use and do? Finally, on the next pages are where you actually took each one of your individual goals, and we asked you to vet them out and make them a little bit more specific in working towards what are the things that you would constitute as elements of each one of those. And that's where you listed at that point, under, as an example, develop the clear objectives, is looking at investigating potential improved use of enterprise zones, investigate, the foreclosures to businesses, investigate opportunities for the city to offer options. So the list is there for you to kind of think through, are those things, and each one of those began with the word investigate for a very important purpose. It's looking at what are our opportunities that we could actually use to work towards achieving each one of those individual goals. You had 4 of them, and under each one of them, you identified things that you were going to work towards in order to achieve either resolution or improve your opportunities to achieve those various goals. Lastly, what we talked about is that list is a comprehensive list, and again, going back to that living, breathing document, what you want to do is take a look at each one of those that you collectively considered as means to an end. Those aspirations and results that you looked at as what exactly would you do. So this is just, again, a representation of what you collectively accomplished in that strategic meeting, looking at that. Another document that I wanted we did provide to you, And it's more not necessarily for you, although it could be, but also more for maybe for the department heads that you want to work with, individuals that you would work to each one of those. And that was that goal planning sheet, which is the second document that you have there. And that is how you end up getting to that results phase, where you end up looking at how can we actually achieve, the results that the strategic plan has given you as an opportunity to work towards these outcomes. And the goal is just make sure that at this point, if you're working with, or if John, as he works with different departments, presents these, or you yourselves looking at individual bullets in that strategic plan, take a look at whether or not they really do have goals that make sense that will come as a result of it. And we ask people always to vet two things. One is if they do have specific goals, almost give them reasons why it has value and it's worth. Because when you do run into obstacles, which you will, it reminds you why it is you're committed to overcoming those obstacles by first thinking about, well, what benefit will I possibly accrue or will the city benefit from as a result of that? And the second page is just a list of various steps to make that occur. So, again, thank you for the opportunity to work with all of you in helping you achieve an analysis, hopefully of a very structured and disciplined, which is what the strategic plan is supposed to be, outlook on what it is that you want to focus your energies on. And thank you for giving us the opportunity to help you arrive at those conclusions. So the documents you have in front of you hopefully will give you a little something to work from as you think about whether or not it still is relevant today and what you want to do with it going forward.
Is there
Any questions on?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir.
We did this last September.
Correct.
I find this a little untimely.
I'm sorry?
I find it a little untimely. We took a long time to get to this place. Is this how it should be?
I don't know. The city manager is out ill today, so I can't
It
answer.
just seems to me, you mentioned the word strength, importance, time, and 6 months has gone by.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. These documents were available to you, at least were made available to you immediately after, so I don't know whether you all received them or not, but that's when those were available to you. And then there were some...
Okay.
So
Thank
the
you.
timing of this is not on our,
Okay. Thank you.
on us at this point.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
I didn't have. Good evening and welcome to the Council, City of Norwich, March 6, 2017. If we could please stand, those that can, and Alderwoman Gould will read us a prayer.
Almighty God, we ask for your blessings upon the members of this council as we assemble here in this chamber to conduct the ongoing business of our city. With your guidance, we will strive to ensure that all our decisions are for the common good, and your inspiration will instill respect, compassion, and thoughtfulness in all our deliberations. Give us the strength and wisdom to lead by example as the people's representatives, and that peace and harmony will mark all our proceedings and keep us faithful to the trust placed in us by the citizens of your community. Amen.
Alderwoman Philbrook, would you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adoptions of minutes, February 6th and 21st, 2017.
May I have a motion and a second, please? Alderman Braddock, Alderwoman Gould. Is there any discussion, changes? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Proclamation, Norwich Arts Center.
Please come up here. And then I understand you'd like a picture. So when we're finished, if you all would come down, we'll take a picture. I have the wrong folder. You don't want me to reach? Yeah. Whereas the Norwich Arts Center, founded as the Norwich Arts Council, has been located on Broadway in downtown Norwich for 30 years, the Norwich Arts Center seeks to provide Norwich and the southeastern Connecticut region with programming that is the entire community. And whereas every 6 months in 2017 and 2018, the Norwich Arts Center's initiative, New Visions and Voices, will feature a variety of visual and performing arts, spotlighting cultural and ethnic groups within our community. And whereas the Norwich Arts Center hopes that these programs will provide the residents of Norwich and surrounding towns an opportunity to learn about and more fully appreciate their neighbors. And whereas the following celebrations are slated for 2017 and 2018. April 2017, celebrating Latino arts. Oh, we have visuals tonight. October 2017, celebrating Asian arts. April 2018, celebrating the African American experience. And October 2018, Under 30, Visions and Voices of the Future. Now therefore, I, Mayor Deborah Hinchy, and Norwich City Council President Pro Tem Peter Albert Nystrom, on behalf of the Norwich City Council and the citizens of the City of Norwich, do hereby recognize the Norwich Arts Center for providing Norwich with programming that is representative of the entire community, dated the 6th day of March 2017. And I personally want to thank you for doing this. It's vitally important to our community that all of the people that make this such a wonderful community are represented in arts. So thank you. Thank you.
Attempting to make all our publicity materials more accessible to the entire community. So starting April 7th, we hope that we'll see many of you for the grand kickoff of the Latino Art Show in the gallery for First Friday in April. And that evening, Rufus Davis and the Latin Jazz Ensemble upstairs in the Donald L. O. Theater. And lots of other wonderful programs never before seen.
And they can check the schedule on your website, correct?
Yeah, website, Facebook. Let's see how we can. Yeah.
I know.
Can we get to?
There we go. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Public hearing. An ordinance amending Section 13-14 of the Norwich Code of Ordinances to permit the sale of alcoholic beverages for consumption on the premises on Sunday commencing at 11 a.m.
I declare the public hearing on said proposed ordinance open. Those speaking in favor? Those speaking in favor? Those speaking in favor? Those opposed? Those speaking opposed? Those speaking opposed? Hearing none, this public hearing is closed.
An ordinance amending Section 13-14 of the Norwich Code of Ordinances to permit the sale of alcoholic beverages for consumption on the premises on Sundays commencing at 11 a.m.
Is there a motion second to waive the reading of the full text and incorporate it into the minutes of said ordinance being given the second reading? President Pro Tem and Alderwoman Gould. Those in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Is there a motion and second to adopt the following ordinance? Alderwoman Gould, Alderman Braddock. Is there discussion? Hearing no discussion, we'll do a roll call. Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Braddock?
Yes?
Alderwoman Philbrick?
Yes.
President Pro Tem?
Yes.
Mayor Henchy, yes. That's unanimous.
Petitions and communication. A letter of appreciation regarding the Norwich firefighters.
A motion and a second to accept this, please. Alderman Nash, Alderman Martin. I'd like to, indulge me, please. I'd like to read this. This came from the City of Norwich Police Department to Chief Scandariato. I wanted to take the time to compliment a few of your firefighters on their actions. On Monday, February 13th, 2017, I was at home on Grant Court in Norwich, and I witnessed truck number 1 occupied by firefighter Seitz, firefighter Cooper, firefighter Rubble. Truck 1 stopped at a neighbor's residence, and firefighter Cooper exited the vehicle. My neighbor's American flag had blown off its pole due to the high winds, and firefighter Cooper picked it up off the ground and knocked on the front door of the residence. The neighbor opened the door and was greeted by Cooper professionally. Cooper then gave the American flag to the neighbor, hurried back to Truck 1. Truck 1 drove away, and the firefighters carried on with their duties. My neighbor immediately contacted me via phone to pass along her gratitude. Seeing this action, I immediately had a tremendous sense of pride in the City of Norwich Fire Department and staff. These brave women and men who work for you did not have to stop and pick up the sacred American flag, but they did. Being in the police profession, I know that our duties go unnoticed on a daily basis, and we often do things within the lights of the camera. However, your firefighters' actions go to show that a true professional will even do something good when not being watched. In a time when patriotism is in question, your brave firefighters went above and beyond and should receive all the accolades they deserve. Please take the time to pass along my letter of gratitude and sincere thanks to the men and women within your department. Always remain safe. Sergeant First Class John Perry. Congratulations, Fire Department. Nice job.
Ethics Commission finding and recommendations, complaint 2016-2, Boyce Clare.
A motion and a second to accept this, please. Alderman Braddock, Alderwoman Gould. All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Ethics Commission finding and recommendations, complaint 2016-3, Groner.
A motion and a second to accept this, please.
Excuse
Alderwoman
me.
Philbrick.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. I'm sorry.
Are you
Yes.
making the motion?
Yes, thank you. I was
Sec-
confused for a moment.
Second, please, Alderman Nash. Those in favor? And that's unanimous.
Ethics Commission finding and recommendations, complaint 2016-4, Hinchey.
A motion and a second, please. President Pro Tem and Alderman Braddock. Those in favor?
Aye.
And that's unanimous.
Ethics Commission finding and recommendations, complaint 2016-6, Bilda.
A motion and a second, please. Alderwoman Philbrick, Alderman Braddock. Those in favor? It's unanimous.
Ethics Commission finding and recommendations, complaint 2016-9, Cinco.
A motion and a second, please. Alderwoman Gould, Alderman Braddock. Those in favor? And that's unanimous. There is no city manager report tonight. The city manager has pulled out ill. We'll catch up with him at our next council meeting. In light of him not being here, I want to congratulate everybody on a great St. Patrick's Day parade yesterday, despite the cold. People still came out. And I'd especially like to thank the police department, the fire department, and Public Works. You made the city look really good. And I noticed the cleanup was really good.
Citizen comment on resolutions.
All right, we'll start with the people who signed up. Bonnie Hong. Please remember to come to and talk into the microphone, state your name, address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Okay, I'm Bonnie Hong, 167 Washington Street here in Norwich, and I'm speaking on the resolution. I'm not sure if it is going to be amended or not, or changed. Could I make the comments closer to when the issue is coming up? Because I'm not sure.
Sure. You can always come back.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Caroline Fry.
Caroline Fry, 9 Indian Hill Road, Norwich. And I just want to say that I'm in support of Resolution Number 5 to direct John Solomon to issue an RFP seeking interesting parties to stabilize and develop the read and use property.
Thank you. I just want to clarify, did you want, not for you, I'm sorry, Ms. Hong, did you want to speak again later on in the evening or at another council meeting?
At a point where we know what the resolution is it exactly the way it
Should speak now.
No, you should speak now.
Because Bonnie Hong, 167 Washington Street here in Norwich. And again, I believe that the resolution as it stands is for the Rotary Family Carnival to be on Chelsea Parade with certain dates and stipulations about the care of the green. That's the way the resolution still stands, I assume. What I would like to do then is to ask the council if you would consider modifying that resolution to allow the Norwich Rotary to present the carnival at Brown Park. Memorial Day is also it's a very special, sacred day for our veterans. When it was first suggested, I thought that we would be able to jointly do something with the veterans groups, but there was very little time to actually do that. I mean, this was just brought to my attention Thursday or Friday of last week, so I really do understand the feelings and the what a solemn ceremony takes place by our veteran groups and the Veterans Council here in Norwich. And Rotary does not want in any way to interfere with the Memorial Day parade and celebration that takes place on Chelsea Parade. What we are asking is that the resolution maybe could be amended to allow us to please go onto Brown Park. The viaduct has been not a very successful venue. Last year we made just about $5,000 for that entire period of time. People cannot find their way into it. They feel isolated. They're going over live railroad tracks. People have said they're concerned about the entrance, although we do try to keep it blocked, that goes on to the viaduct road. And small children can run from parents very quickly. They were afraid, for whatever reason. The viaduct lot was not a very, it wasn't a good venue, and we're asking if you would please consider letting the Rotary hold its carnival again down at Brown Park. Thank you.
Thank you. David Bishop?
Good evening. My name is David Bishop, 28 Cherry Hill Road. I am in favor of resolution number 5 regarding Reed Hughes. A few years ago, another RFP was sent out and 3 developers submitted proposals. One developer from Texas never bothered to come to Norwich to see the Reed Hughes building. Another developer had already reneged on the proposal to develop the Capehart Mill here in Norwich, and also reneged on a proposal to develop a mill in Stonington, and proposed a grandiose proposal to redevelop a large portion of downtown without even speaking with adjacent property owners. Yet a previous city council picked that developer over the third Norwich-based preservation group, who was working with a well-known Norwich developer and a well-known Hartford architect, both with proven track records of development. That proved to be an unwise choice by the previous city council, as witnessed by the fact that we are here 3 years later, still talking about saving the Reed Hughes building. I sincerely hope this city council will pass this resolution, and if more than the current developer, who has shown qualified and positive interest, submits a proposal, that you choose a qualified and legitimate developer to save this historic building. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dale Plummer?
Dale Plummer, 25 Broadway, Mayor Hinchy, President Pro Tem Nystrom, members of the City Council. I'm here to speak on Resolution 5 for proposals for the stabilization and rehabilitation of the Reed and Hughes building at 199 to 201 Main Street. In the downtown Norwich Historic District, listed on the National Register of Historic Places. It is vital to our progress in revitalizing downtown that Reed and Hughes be retained and returned to new use for the benefit of the citizens of Norwich. The renewal of the building has many advantages. It will bring another tax-paying property online, generate revenues from utilities, and provide much-needed housing for those who have served our country faithfully, veterans. Saving this building restores the character of our community. It is our historic buildings and districts that define and give identity to our towns and cities. Historic preservation has been an essential element in the revival of small cities and towns across America. Use of tax credits for certified rehabilitation of historic buildings, such as Reed and Hughes, has brought new investment into downtowns and provided good-paying jobs, places to live and work and shop that are at once old and new. Every historic building that we have demolished in the downtown in the past 35 years represents lost opportunity for investment and growth. The vacant lots that have replaced buildings such as the Zadok Crowell House, the Minor Houses, Crawford Building, Marion Building, and many others in the downtown generate little or no taxes and contribute nothing to the life of the community. Rehabilitation offers new hope and pride for the downtown. I think it is safe to say that once we quicken the pace of reuse of our underutilized downtown buildings, then and only then will we see our vacant lots rise in value and attract interest from developers. In Seattle, where I lived for 4 years while in college, the city had planned to demolish Pike Place Market. The citizens protested, forced a referendum, which they won, and Pike Place Market was restored. It is now a centerpiece of downtown Seattle and a must-see for visitors, any visitor to Seattle. It is the citizens of Norwich that have asked you to spare Reed and Hughes and see it restored. We thank them and others who have brought us this far. Bob Mills and NCDC brought in architect Bill Krosky through the Connecticut Main Street program. Bill brought in the Women's Institute and Betsy Crum. Bill Morse of New London, developer, contacted Norwich Heritage Trust about getting involved, and he is really the linchpin of this proposal. The Connecticut Trust for Historic Preservation, the Connecticut State Historic Preservation
Thank
Office.
you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Gary Young?
Hi, Gary Young, 88 Palmer Street, Norwich. I'm not sure Reed and Hughes can be compared to any place in Seattle, but I'm in favor definitely of it keeping standing. Also, regarding Rotary Carnival, hope y'all can change the proposal to have it Howard Brown Park. I'm definitely in favor of that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Susan Massey?
Susan Massey, 1 Sachem Terrace. Mayor Hinchey, council members. I hope you know I was thrilled to see Resolution 5 on the agenda. I know that many of you had to change your mind to put it there, and that indicates a flexibility. And flexibility is essential for good governance. I also know it also shows that you were listening to your constituents. So kudos to you. Kudos also to all the individuals who were writing letters, who spoke here and otherwise expressed their preference for our city. This kind of civic action, like voting, will make us a stronger city. I urge you to vote yes on Resolution 5. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill Morse?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bill Morse. I live at 57 Westridge Road, apartment C9 in New London. And I thought it would be a good idea for you to connect a face with part of the solution, hopefully, solution that you'll back for future use of the Reed and Hughes building. First off, I want to thank you for the time you've put into reading the material on the proposal, reading the history of this building, the saga of the Reed and Hughes building, and it has been a saga. But I think it's been a saga well worth staying tuned to and continuing. I have been involved in the last 15 years with the restoration through sweat equity of the Central Hotel in downtown New London. Basically a 33-room flop house that started life in 1888 as a bakery with quarters above for its workers and the family owners. That took 13 years. That building was in worse shape than the Reed and Hughes. I had tar paper up on the, not tar paper, but tarps up on the roof to keep the water from cascading down the central staircase. So I'm familiar with the challenges in construction for the Reed and Hughes building. My biggest concern is, should this building be allowed to fall, there will be others in a disastrous domino effect. I see other buildings coming down. This one is key because many people see Norwich, the Rose of New England, as the cultural, institutional, educational center, religious center of Eastern Connecticut. Downtown Norwich is the heart or center of the Rose of New England, and Franklin Square definitely is the heart of the heart. This building occupies a very visible site on the southern tier of that triangle. And I wish that you please consider very carefully your decision whether or not to back this resolution. because the repercussions will be felt by our grandchildren and their children. This is a big, big step. So I thank you for your consideration, your support, and your faith in this project. More than faith, it's economic development. This will work. This will generate revenue for the city. This will not be part of the problem. This will be part of the solution. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Irene Scheinberg.
Good evening. Irene Scheinberg, 12 Jones Court, Norwich, Connecticut. I also, I guess, I may be a dreamer, but 6 decades ago, as a teenager, I shopped in the Reed and Hughes building, and it flourished then. And with all the energy that people have invested in trying to save it, I believe if you vote yes, the Reed and Hughes building will rise again to its former glory. And, you know, I was kind of thought of also another thing. We need foot traffic downtown, and also our tax base in Norwich is something that concerns me. From my hairdresser said to me, her daughter purchased a home in Old Lyme, and I think that house cost $500,000, and she pays less property taxes in Old Lyme than we do in Norwich, and we need to increase our tax base. We need to support our schools. You know, I even wonder about families coming into the area with what our Board of Education and the schools exist on. I hope you vote in favor of restoring the Reed and Hughes building. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Marvin Cerruto.
Marvin Cerruto, 100 Star Street, Norwich, Connecticut, United States of America. I'm speaking in favor of resolution number 5. I also am very happy to see it as one of the resolutions. It's with confident hope, with good engineering practices and good construction methods, we can return a very historic site here in the heart of our city to a site that's very prosperous and very satisfying. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Tom Keeney.
Good evening, Tom Keeney, 12 Legend Court, Norwich, Connecticut. I'm here to in support of resolution number 5, and I congratulate those city council members who had the courage to change their mind, and thank you for that effort.
Thank you, sir. Gil Skillman.
Good evening. Gil Skillman, 101 Broad Street, Norwich. I strongly support resolution number 5. I sincerely thank you for considering it yet again, and I strongly urge its adoption. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Bill Champagne.
Bill Champagne, President of the Norwich Historical Society. My address is 7 Northwest Corner Road in Preston. And mainly, I'm going to be very brief. The Norwich Historical Society supports resolution number 5. I've been involved with Reed and Hughes for a very long while, and I attended 2 of the 3 meetings held by members of the city administration, and I give them a lot of credit. They did a lot of due diligence, asked a lot of good questions. And the meetings also included people from the state of Connecticut, including the Assistant Attorney General. And I think those meetings were over the last month or so. Very productive, and I give everybody involved in those meetings kudos. You've heard everything that everybody said several times about Reed and Hughes. I'm not going to repeat them. I will simply repeat that the Norwich Historical Society supports the passage of Resolution Number 5. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That's the end of the people who signed up. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak?
Thought I had signed up, but I guess it was missed. My name is Kevin Wickless, 34 Wales Road. I'm also the current president of the Norwich Noontime Rotary. I'm here tonight to speak in support of Resolution Number 3 that would allow the Norwich Rotary Carnival event to occur at Howard T. Brown Park. There are two reasons. One, it's a great event for the community. It's a great timing for an event to have a carnival outside so that family members and their children can attend. The second reason is that we, as the Norwich Rotary, use this event to also raise funds. 100% of those funds go back into the community. For example, many of you may have heard this before, but the Norwich Rotary has a coat project, and in 2016, we purchased over 1,000 new coats for school-age children in Norwich to the approximate cost of $17,958.79. And without events like the carnival, we wouldn't be able to do such things for the community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Someone over here?
Good evening, Sheila Hayes, 288 Central Avenue. As I spoke on the first time this resolution came up several months ago, I am neither for or against any of the proposals or ordinances. With this particular ordinance, number 5, my only concern is the definition of what reasonableness is, and in a timely fashion. What I would hope is that we would be more definitive as to what the time frames and what reasonableness and timely fashion would be as that is subject to interpretation. I think all of us have expressed that we want to see whatever happens to the reuse, that it be done not just to stabilize it, but we need, if it's going to be renovated, it needs to get renovated. We can't continue to have buildings vacant downtown waiting for something to happen. So I would hope that there would be more definition in the RFP or whatever is passed this evening. With respect to ordinance number 3, in full disclosure, I am a member of the Norwich Rotary Community Corps, which is part of the Norwich Noontime Rotary, and so I support the carnival and would support passage of the ordinance as was requested to be amended. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on the resolutions at hand? Yes, ma'am?
I hope that the City Council
Please state your name and address.
Maria Joliker, 161 Broadway, Norwich, Connecticut. I hope the City Council votes in favor of Resolution Number 5, John Solomon's issue to seek interested parties to stabilize and develop the Reed and Hughes property. I'd like to stress the importance of historic preservation regarding this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on the resolutions at hand? Anyone else wishing to speak? Yes, sir?
John Blackburn, 15 Alice Street. I think you should save the Read and Use, and I also think it's a good idea to hold that carnival down there at Brown Park. That's where it belongs. I am a veteran myself, and I think Chelsea Parade is sacred ground for the veterans, and it should stay that way. So I hope you really consider moving that carnival down there. That's a better place for it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak? Yes, sir?
Good evening. Rodney Boyce, 62 Roosevelt Avenue. I'm speaking in favor of item 5. Our previous speakers have spoken eloquently about this. I don't want to go back over everything that they did. But preservation is something that we need to take a good hard look at. I don't want to see us establish such a high criteria we scare people off on this. And we need to get it done. The city owns this building, and the city needs to fix it up PDQ. Because was I held to the same standard that the city has held itself, I'd have the worst slum in town. I'd have the gendarmes clamping down on me big time. I'd have been liens on property you wouldn't believe. I could never get away with half of what they've gotten away with this. And this goes for any city property. We got to get out of the real estate business.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Anyone else wishing to speak? Anyone else wishing to speak? Hearing none? Oh, yep, we do have one.
Will Allen, 25 Broadway. Forgive me, I have to end on a positive note. Thank you for adopting this resolution, giving Norwich purpose, and a path, a light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak on the resolutions at hand? Anyone else wishing to speak on the resolutions on the agenda? Anyone else wishing to speak on the resolutions? Hearing none, public comment is closed, and I thank you all very much for your comments.
Relative to the sale of beer and wine at Rock the Docks 2017 concert series at Howard T. Brown Park.
A motion and a second, please. Alderman Braddock, Alderman Martin, is there discussion? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Relative to authorizing the sale of beer and wine at the Taste of Italy Food Festival to be held September 9th, 2017.
A motion and a second, please. Alderman Nash, President Pro Tem. Is there discussion? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Relative to holding the carnival hosted by the Norwich Noontime Rotary on Chelsea Parade.
Is there a motion and a second, please? President Pro Tem and Alderman Braddock.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion, please. If I could amend the language, removing the words Chelsea Parade and amend the resolution to read the Howard T. Brown Park.
Is there a second? Alderwoman Gould. Is there further discussion? Yes?
Thank you. Just want to, in summary, not repeat what others have said tonight, but this is the best venue for this activity. They do so on behalf of all the citizens of Norwich. The return is to the citizens of Norwich. And I appreciate anyone and all who have helped bring this language forward, in particular Alderman Jerry Martin, who's chairman of the Harbor Management Commission. Without his strong effort today, this would not be possible. So thank you, Jerry.
Anything else? Alderwoman Philbrook?
I would just like to take this opportunity to share my feelings tonight that I believe we have heard three very positive things here tonight, which is something unusual, and hopefully we'll hear more. We had a lovely letter of recognition for the fire department. We have seen that the city and the advocates for the Reed and Hughes have reached some common ground, and now we have found that we have all reached common ground on the carnival. These are very positive steps and show that we can work together, and I hope that we will continue to do this. Thank you all.
Alderman Martin, did you have something you wanted to say?
This is one of these things where you have to do what's right for the greater good. It's not my choice to have the carnival during peak fishing season for stripers in Howard T. Brown Park when it's the only boat launch on the Thames River. Unfortunately, Chelsea Parade didn't work out due to objections. The vets booked the site first. They had first dibs on it. And there was pushback on the dates. Everything didn't line up and everything else, and I was ashamed that we were going to lose the carnival. I didn't want that to happen, and I talked to some of the people in my boards and commission on harbor management. We came to the consensus that we'll do that for this year. We can't promise that we'll do it for every year, but we'll promise to do it this year to try to help out this carnival from not happening. And we don't always get things always right the first time. Sometimes we make mistakes, things fall between the cracks, but we didn't let the ball fall on the ground. Everybody on the team carried the ball, and we got it to where it had to go. So I'm going to speak in favor of this. Thank you.
Anyone else? Hearing no further discussion, those in favor?
Of the amendment?
Yeah.
You might also consider taking out the language in this that's unique to Howard Brown Park. It's in the resolution provision. Provided we have to stay with, the carnival is conducted in accordance with section 12-5 of the Norwich Code of Ordinances. That applies to Chelsea Parade only. So if you're moving the park, you might as well take that out. You need a request to amend to do that.
A request to amend, please. Pro Tem and Alderwoman Gould. Those in favor of the amendment? It's unanimous. Is that it?
Motion is amended.
So now we vote on the motion. Now we will vote on the motion as amended twice now. We've changed the locale, and we've taken out section 12-5 of the Norwich Code of Ordinances. Those in favor?
Aye.
And we have unanimous.
Relative to reappointments of regular and alternate members to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
A motion and a second, please. Alderman Nash, Alderman Braddock. For the information of citizens, let's see, regular members to Zoning Board of Appeals is Mark Benjamin and Mark Kulos. And reappointed as alternate members is David Martin and Robert Phoenix. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
And that's unanimous.
Relative to directing John Salamone to issue an RFP seeking interesting parties to stabilize and develop the Reed and Hughes property.
Is there a motion and a second, please? Pro Tem and Alderman Braddock. Is there discussion? Yes, sir?
This was a very tough decision to amend this and to go down this path for me. But I remember not long ago where I was sitting where you were sitting, and I used to ask myself, well, all these people came to talk. They weighed in on an opinion. Why didn't the council listen to them? And I promised myself that I would never do that if I was elected. The people have come out, they spoke for it, and it's the right thing to do because that's what the committee and my constituents want. So as an elected official, I hear you, and I will be supporting this. Thank you.
Anyone else? Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. Although he's not here, I want to extend publicly my thanks to our city manager, John Salamone. I can tell you, having attended 2 of the 3 meetings, the 2 meetings I was at, there was some strong feelings and issues raised, all out of one concern, and that was the betterment of the city of Norwich. And while people express differences of opinion, the resolution before us tonight demonstrates what has already been shared by a couple other council members on different issues, is that people can come together for what is right. And the historic preservation of this building, I've always believed, is right. And so I thank all of you, particularly the citizens of Norwich, who have spoken on this meeting after meeting, because you have made that difference. So thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Nash?
I would just like to say I'm excited that some of my fellow council persons changed their minds from the last vote. Hopefully they'll continue that path tonight. I think that, and I've had many phone conversations, because unfortunately I work in Hartford, so I don't get up here to see Mr. Salamone as much. But I've had conversations with him on the phone, and honestly, the building's been in the situation it's been in for quite some time. We've drug our feet. I've sat on this council before, watched us kick the can and kick the can and kick the can. Eventually, the can, it gets to a point where you can't keep kicking it anymore, and the buck stops. And listen, in the past, I was for tearing it down because I didn't see anybody coming up with the money to invest in the building. And, you know, helping restore a building in the downtown costs a lot of money. And I know that they're not going to restore the interior of the building. The building's going to get completely gutted, and the best we can hope for is the facade is protected and kept in place, and we put a more efficient building in behind it or attached to that facade. But I did ask Mr. Solomon to please consider working with others to get us someone to hold on to that on the 11th hour, because if you all remember, there was a wrecking ball in downtown for the Warrigan, and the 11th hour that was saved as well. So I hope we can get the company that came in with the veterans' homes, and I hope they continue to help with us and work with us, and we get that funding, or they get the funding that they need, and we can get this building off the Norwich tax roll, off the city's owned property to someone else's owned property. But I will ask that everyone that's been involved, and I know you've all been involved, keep the pressure up. Don't stop, because if we vote this yes tonight, don't think your work is over, because it's not. You still have to help us encourage companies that come to Norwich, that look at this building, that want to build something there, that this is the right investment. And I've always been a strong supporter of, you need people downtown if downtown's going to survive. I'm not, you know, everyone talks about economy, economics. Listen, once you put people in that building, they need to shop. They need to buy stuff, and then other stores come around and say, you know, a shoe store, a bakery, a deli, something comes downtown. It's not just convenience stores. So, and they all aren't going to take seat bus down to the grocery stores, so they're going to go and get a loaf of bread across the street. So I'm going to be in favor of this again tonight, and let's keep our fingers crossed and keep the pressure up. That's what we need you to do as well. Keep the pressure up. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Braddock?
Thank you. I hope, I've listened to the enthusiasm we've had regarding the Reed and Hughes for a long time now. I hope that the same group, and I think there are about 14 of you here, can share the same enthusiasm with the YMCA, the K-Pot building, the Fairhaven, the Norwich Textile building. These are all downtown buildings. And I do hope you all stand in the same places that you're standing right now to save those buildings. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes?
Yeah, I'm sorry for a second time, just briefly, and I should have done this as well. We heard from Mr. Morse this evening, but truly without a private citizen stepping up, willing to be an investor here in our city, and he doesn't live in our city, he's coming from the outside. I think that's really critical. This wouldn't be happening without him. So, sir, I want to thank you.
Anyone else? Hearing no further discussion, those in favor? It's unanimous.
Relative to transmitting reports received from the Ethics Commission to the Board of Public Utility Commissioners with a request the board delay holding its organizational meeting.
Is there a motion and a second, please? Alderwoman Gould, Alderman Braddock, is there discussion? Hearing none? Yes? Alderman Martin, do you have?
See, I want to make sure I'm doing this in the right place, right? Yeah, okay.
That's why we have Corporation Counsel.
Yeah, that's where I got the nod. I want to touch over some of the facts. A couple weeks back, over this ethics problem that we've had in Norwich with NPU, I went to the state capitol, to the legislative office building. I testified in front of the Energy Committee, who had a few proposals in front of them for how they wanted to address the problem we had in Norwich and other energy cooperatives moving forward. One of the bills was brought forth by Senator Austin and others, and I was offered the opportunity to speak alongside Senator Austin, and I was greatly flattered, although I just came from work and I had my blue jeans and my Carhartts on, and I was kind of out of place in that situation because everybody else there was pretty much a lawyer or a lobbyist. And I'm going to just give you some excerpts from that, what I stated, and hopefully it captures the concerns of all my constituents, but in the nicest of possible ways. I basically stated that I was a working class guy, and I wanted to pass on the sentiments of some of my constituents from Norwich in this matter. I told them that we were outraged as a community, for lack of better words, that we've been fleeced by this cooperative. I also went on to paraphrase that when the good faith of the people is violated, they wanted somebody's head on the platter. I also went on to state that getting rid of the energy cooperative was not a good thing, because to not reap the energy cooperative benefits would be devastating to some of our business, our residents, and our municipalities. But to not propose any changes to the way things are would be every bit as devastating. I also stated that if oversight and ethical behavior was in place, that I wouldn't be here having the conversation with them. Even in my place of employment, I don't escape Norwich. Even today, I've had people come and say to me, Jerry, can I get some tickets to the Kentucky Derby? And when I stated that in my testimony, the people started to laugh in the chamber, but it wasn't funny to me. I should be able to go to work without being teased about this, because it wasn't a good thing for our city. You know, we have very poor people in our community. You know, they have to make choices with whether they pay their electricity or whether they buy food and medicine. You know, we have real tough times. I also asked them to address the root cause by providing safeguards. Would go a long way to solving that very complex problem. And I thank them for letting me weigh in on this matter. Like I said, this is very big for our city, and it's not a good thing for us. But it's up to us as a council to move this along, you know, do what we have to do and try to move forward as a city so we can go on and keep doing the good things that we do. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Anyone else wishing to speak? Yes.
I'm going to share some personal information. Some of you may and some of you may not know that I'm the only other person in the history of Norwich to be found in violation of the Ethics Commission. I think I said this before at a meeting. It was probably one of the most embarrassing, humiliating, and demeaning experiences of my life. When things happen, we have social media now. People can hide behind screen names and they can say nasty, nasty, hurtful things with no repercussions, which to me is an ethical violation in itself. I think that there probably isn't a person in this room who hasn't done something in their life that they would love to have a second chance to get to do a do-over. We all make mistakes. I think the measure of a man or a woman is admitting that you make a mistake and moving on from that. My punishment from the Ethics Commission was that I never be allowed to be appointed to any board or commission in the city of Norwich. Fortunately or unfortunately, I found a way around that by being elected to the city council. And I did that with the support of people in the city who were able to understand and certainly not overlook my indiscretions, but understand that people do things. I do believe personally that for every action there has to be a consequence. I'm still waiting to see how this is going to play out. By referring, and please correct me if I'm wrong, by referring these findings to the Board of Commissions of the Public Utilities, we are not relinquishing our responsibility. I believe there will become a point in time when we will speak about these things. But I ask you to find it in your heart to understand that we all make mistakes, and there, for the grace of God, someday your picture may be on the face of the bulletin. You may be accused of drunk driving, child abuse, and you may go to court and be acquitted, but nobody ever reads that somebody was wrongly accused. So I just ask you to try to understand and be kind when you see people who have been subjected to the tried and convicted in the press. As I said, we all make mistakes. We have to pay for our actions. But remember that most of us will probably find ourselves in a similar position at some time in our life. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Yes, sir.
Thank you. Briefly, I don't think the public will be satisfied without full disclosure or without full restitution. But I also want to extend my thanks to you, Mayor. You accepted responsibility. You publicly apologized. And I think the public must not forget that. They need to do that, to remember you have it, your actions. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing that, no other comment. Those in favor? And that is unanimous.
An ordinance amending subsection 2.7.2 of the Norwich Code of Ordinances, Waterfront Development District, WD, zoning permit required, to add customer service establishments as a permitted use in the Waterfront Development District for which a zoning permit is required.
Is there a motion and second to send a referral to the Commission on the City Plan and the Harbor Commission, schedule a public hearing on the proposed ordinance for April 17, 2017, at 7 p.m., said ordinance being given its first reading? Alderman Nash, Alderman Braddock.
Question? May I ask a question?
Certainly.
We used the month of March for that date of Commission of the City Plan?
I'm sorry?
Can we use the 21st of March
For the Harbor Commission?
for the Commission on the City Plan?
The Commission on the City Plan, I think, meets the third Tuesday.
21st.
Which would be the 21st, and then they report back to the council. The council can't take action until it gets back the report of the commission. And I think that the first meeting in April is the budget meeting, which seems not, I think it seemed to gamble. Plus, I think the Harbor Commission will weigh in, but they may be able to do that sooner.
Right. I'm looking at a schedule here that says March 21st.
That would be Commission of the City Plan.
Yes, and no meeting in April.
No, but the Commission of the City Plan would be that April to make its recommendation to the council. The council is going to hold a second reading and public hearing on April 17th. So that you're voting on the council scheduling a public hearing, not the Commission of the City Plan.
No, I understand that. But why could we not have that meeting earlier? Fine.
I think you could have it as early as the
21st?
first meeting in April, but that traditionally is the budget meeting. I mean, there are two other ordinances on this tonight as well that I think the thought to have all three of them at that meeting on the 17th. It didn't have to be.
Do you have further?
I'm just wondering why we're not doing it in March. Why we're not?
Because you can't. It has to go to the City Plan and the Harbor Commission in March.
The council meeting is the 20th, so
Okay.
you won't have a report from the Commission on the City Plan on the 20th because they're meeting on the 21st.
Okay.
By the time we have a March council meeting, will not be enough time for the commission and the City Plan and the Harbor to have met to get it to us on that day. And the first meeting in April is the budget meeting.
Okay. That's fine.
Anything else?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Anybody else? No? Those in favor? And that's unanimous.
An ordinance repealing Section 3.4 floodplain floodway overlay of the Norwich Code of Ordinances in its entirety and adopting a new Section 3.4 floodplain, floodway overlay.
Is there a motion and a second to send a referral to the Commission on the City Plan and the Harbor Commission, schedule a public hearing on the proposed ordinance for April 17, 2017, at 7 p.m., said ordinance being given its first reading? Oh, boy. Alderman Gould and Alderman Martin. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor? Thank you.
An ordinance amending the Norwich Code of Ordinances by repealing section entitled Flood-Related Terms in its entirety and adopting a new section, Flood-Related Terms.
Is there a motion and a second to send a referral to the Commission on the City Plan and the Harbor Commission, schedule a public hearing on the proposed ordinance for April 17, 2017, at 7 p.m., said ordinance being given its first reading? Those in favor? First and second, sorry. Alderwoman Philbrick, Alderwoman Gould.
Everybody raise their hand.
Now.
I make a motion
Those in
to adjourn.
favor?
No, motion.
Didn't I
Yeah.
just first and second?
Yeah, but half of them didn't raise their hand.
Yeah. Alderwoman Philbrick.
Okay,
and-
got that. Okay.
Now we can vote in favor.
Yes, sorry.
Oh, jeez. Now, all those in favor? That's unanimous.
Make a motion, we adjourn?
Second, Alderman Martin, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all very much.